Welcome to the McCourt School. Welcome to Washington, D.C. You've come on an interesting day in our nation's capital. We'll, a few hours, have a very important vote on the future of healthcare and what direction it's going to go. That kind of activity, that kind of buzz is going to be here every day. So when you come to McCourt, you'll be coming to a program at the center of public policy making in this country. Indeed, at the center of public policy making in the world. And that's one of the opportunities that you get here. One of the things that's unique about this program is that you get exposed to high quality faculty. You get to interact with research centers doing cutting edge, innovative research on what works and what doesn't work. You get to engage with your fellow students, who are some of the brightest people you'll ever meet. Become part of a network of McCourt alumni who will be instrumental in terms of helping you think about your career today and into the future, and then be able to regularly participate in the policy environment. And there's so much going on here that really the only thing that will constrain you is the hours in the day. We'll be able to find something that interests you, whether your passion is healthcare, or education policy, or poverty, or transportation, or criminal justice, or international development. We have something that will appeal to you and a set of activities that you'll be able to tap into, both in the classroom and outside of the classroom. So just over the last couple of weeks, what kinds of things have been going on here? Well, we had Grover Norquist, who runs the Center for American Tax Reform, and is one of the big proponents of changing the tax laws. He's here. He's a fellow. He has office hours. And you can interact with him and be part of these informal out-of-classroom sessions thinking about where do we go in terms of economic policy in this country. Next week, we're going to have a dinner with the Swiss ambassador. And you'll be able to be part of a small group of students who get a chance to interact with leading policymakers in informal settings, talk about career, talk about passion, talk about issues. That's the kind of opportunities we have. You'll be able to participate in sessions like we had for Women's History Month, where we've had people come in and talk about women leaders in the military. We've had several different career fairs and networking opportunities, negotiating sessions, so you can get the maximum out of your salary. So we prepare you for not only what you're going to do in school, but what the next chapter is. And so we regularly have those kinds of activities. And of course, we have another informal luncheon with a former official from the Department of Justice and Department of Labor to talk about race and voting as we go forward into the next 8 years. And so we have a regular series of these kinds of interactions. That's just over the last 2 weeks. If you'll be talking to Mo Leafley, and he'll tell you what the Institute of Politics has been doing. Last year, they put on 70 different events. 70 different events, bringing in, well, they brought in, we don't call it the loser brigade, but it was the loser brigade. It was everybody who ran for president and didn't win. We had almost every one of them come to campus, be part of an informal conversation with our students. I shouldn't call it the loser brigade, disrespect, but you get the gist, okay? That's the kind of thing that Mo's putting on. And whether it's Bernie Sanders or Rick Santorum, he regularly brings those kinds of folks to campus. That's a resource that's available to you. In addition to the Institute of Politics and exposure to that, our faculty are really doing innovative and interesting things. Nora Gordon and Jane Hanaway were recently voted in the top 200 most influential education scholars in the country. They've been on that list for each of the last 5 years. So if your passion is, what do we think about K through 12 education? What are we doing in higher ed? Those are people who are doing cutting edge stuff. Bill Gormley's been in this field looking at preschool programs in Tulsa, Oklahoma for the last decade, and he has an ongoing effort looking at what works and doesn't work for early childhood interventions. We have our Center for Juvenile Justice Reform, who's going to be hosting our LEAD conference, which brings together practitioners and scholars in criminal justice and thinks about how you knit together a holistic approach to social welfare programs, interventions for young people. And we've got many more. International development, if you're interested in that. We have our center is called GUIDE. It does work in Tanzania. They have multi-million-dollar grants to go and look at and evaluate education programs in Tanzania, run by James Habyarimana, Andrew Zeitlin, and Jacobus Sillers. That's the kind of people that you would be able to learn from, work for, if you chose to come here and be part of the research environment. It's not just faculty, of course. It's not just our centers. Students are actively engaged and supported in thinking about what's their passion. So we're going to have a conference on environmental policy. Our Latin American students are sponsoring a conference. Our East Asian students are sponsoring a conference. There are lots of opportunities for you to shape, host, put on, call on the campus's resources, call on the school's resources to have discussions about things that you're passionate about, that get you excited, get you going in the morning. So whether it's inside the classroom, outside the classroom, this is a good experience for you, I would say. It's one that will keep you occupied, it will keep you occupied mentally, and it will keep you occupied socially. We have a lot of happy hours and things like that too, so there'll be opportunities for you to put a smile on your face at the end of the day. So I would encourage you to think real strongly about coming to the Montgomery School. It's an excellent program. It happens to be centered in the right location for those of you who have said you have a passion for public policy, you want to make a difference. It's part of a network of faculty, centers, and who are actually doing it. We'd love to have you be the next generation. Thank you.
I think I'm supposed to say amen to that. So I'm Barbara Shoney. I'm the faculty director of the MPP program. And for the majority of you in the room who are applying to the MPP program, I have read every one of your applications and I've been impressed by every single one of them. I want to thank you for coming today. I know some of you came from not too far, but some of you came from quite a bit of distance to be here. And I hope that you'll have a wonderful day today. I know the day's already started, but that you'll get a flavor for what the McCourt School is about. I want to echo a lot of what the dean said. Part of the experience of being at McCourt is what goes on in the classroom, but a lot of it is what goes on outside of the classroom. And one of the things that's unique about our program is that we don't teach undergraduates at this point. We don't teach doctoral students. We teach master's students. So you are our focus, and we have a very student-centric program. I just got back from Mexico City with a group of students. I went on my own as one of them. They invited me. We went on a policy trip, but this was a trip that was organized by our students. So there's a lot of opportunity to do things here and to make things and make your experience your own by getting involved. There's a lot of student empowerment here. I think one of the things that distinguishes our programs is our focus on data-driven and evidence-based policy. And I don't think there are many people that do it better than we do it. We have a very good curriculum to help you learn those tools. And my goal for you when you leave here, apart from you getting a good job that you want, is that you know how to think critically and carefully about policy. You know when to be a skeptic, you know how to evaluate evidence, you know how to even produce evidence if that's something that you choose to do. We have an amazing community. It's a warm place, it's collegial, it's not competitive. You are your future networks if you come here, and so it's important to get to know one another, get to know students. You'll have a chance later today to meet with alums and meet with students. You'll get to meet with other faculty, and I encourage you to engage as much as you can with people to get your questions answered to figure out if this is the right fit for you. I'll be around tonight for the reception. I will also stick around for lunch if you have questions and you want to talk. I'm more than happy to talk to you and get to know you, but I do want to welcome you for coming and thank you.
So my name is Frank Weedy. I'm the director of the Masters of International Development Policy program. And we share a lot of the similar traits with the MPP program. We have a lot of similar core classes. And the characteristics of the students in our program are very similar as well. There are a few distinguishing features. we have a small cohort. Every year we have about 20 MIDP students who take all of their core classes together. And that creates a small community where people know each other well, work together very closely, and share a similar passion for international development. I want to be really clear, there are a lot of MPP students who are interested in international development as well, and so one way to look at it is there are kind of some similarities, but there are also some differences. One of the things, and one of those distinctions is this community, this cohort of 20 that you're working together. A second feature which is distinctive, a little bit different, is even while the core classes are the same, the MIDP core classes will all involve international content in a way that is different from most of the MPP courses. MPP courses are not all domestic, but a lot of the core material in the core classes will be domestic policy and domestic institutions. And of course, there are lessons that can be drawn from U.S. institutions, U.S. policies for the international context as well. But you can think about the MIDP program as one where there's a real concentration on institutions and issues as experienced by developing countries. So that's one of the things that's quite important. I love the way that the Dean talked about the McCourt School in ways that both emphasized looking at policy making at a high level and their access to the policy makers, but also the focus of our coursework from the bottom up in terms of thinking about what works and what doesn't. And especially in the international development community, there's this growing recognition that a lot of development assistance has just not been very effective. Let's at least agree it hasn't been as effective as we'd like it to be. But if you spend more time with me, I'll tell you it hasn't been very effective, all right? And it matters, and that means we have to do better, right? And so our program is really focused on the analysis, the understanding of the economics, and the evidence of what works and what doesn't, so we can do more of the former and less of the latter, right? And as a result, our program brings in speakers that are much more focused on that kind of process, right? So very recently we had a speaker come to us who was the founder of an organization called Dubility. I'm sure none of you have heard of that. Their main product is something called Survey CTO, which is a software that is used by research firms in developing countries all over the place. You guys are too young to remember this, but at one point people did surveys by going around and filling out paper, right? The good news is that's not done anymore. It's done on electronic devices, and the software that they use on those electronic devices is called Survey CTO. That's the kind of person we bring here, because he was talking about how the technology works, how it's applied, and in fact a lot of our students already had experience using it, the second-year students during the summer, but in fact many of our first-year students had been doing field work as well. So that gives you a sense of how we look at the high level, but we focus on how do we get it done. And so there's a very strong applied practical approach to development. So I'm going to have lunch with the MIDP students. I'm looking forward to that, the MIDP candidates. But I will be available at the reception later too, and if you have questions, feel free to come up and talk to me then. All right? Thanks.
Hi, I'm Lynn Ross. I'm the faculty director for the MPM program. I know we have one MPM admitted student here, but I'm always happy to tell everybody about the MPM program anyway, even though we just have one person. I will say it's important, I guess, to say that I also teach in the MPP program. I teach a lot of classes in the MPP program. And I think that's sort of emblematic of the fact that we all do a lot around here. We're a very integrated community. So the MPM program in particular is what we sort of consider our mid-career program. Students in that program have to have at least 5 years experience. On average, however, these students have about 10 years of experience. And so some of them sort of, I guess, snidely say they're the old students. So they have some experience and they focus on things at maybe a 30,000 foot level. They focus less on learning sort of quantitative tools and more on looking at things like consuming those kinds of products that are produced by people who do policy analysis. We also have an interesting arrangement with the Joint Chiefs of Staff Office of the Secretary of Defense Fellows Program. And so many of you, if you come here and join us, will see some Army captains come through. There are 20 of them every year who get an MPM degree, and then they go on to work at the Pentagon for 2 years after that. And they are chosen from among about 400 Army captains to come and get a degree at Georgetown. So it's quite an exclusive group. We also have lots of really interesting people from around the world, like the MPP program has and like the MIDP program has. People who have really interesting life experience and bring a lot to the classroom. One thing that I would add, I guess, I'd echo everything that the dean has said and that my colleagues have said. But one thing that I think I would highlight is that really the staff here at McCourt, the service that is provided and the care that they give to our students is like none I've ever seen. And I've been in many university environments, and I can tell you that not only is our faculty student-centric, but our staff is really focused on doing things well for our students. So I think if you joined us, you would definitely see that. So join us.
Thank you guys. So next we're going to move into the lunch portion. So I think Frank is going to take his MIDP folks to room 316. So why don't you guys go ahead and grab a lunch out here, and then you guys can head up there. And then everybody else, your lunch is out in the hallway, and then you'll be eating it here or kind of out in the hallway. But we'll be back in here at 12:45 for our academic affairs presentation. So we'll be back here at 12:45. Enjoy.
I bet.